in order to find out what it feels like to be completely drained by a succubus. I decided to keep 2 succubi at the same time. One was obedient and clingy, always coming up with endless new tricks. The other was cold and distant, yet irresistibly captivating, with one in each arm. I felt like my life had reached its absolute peak, until the news came out that my brother was returning to the country. The 2 of them suddenly asked to sleep in separate rooms from me. That night, I was woken up by noises from the room next door. I heard them arguing endlessly about who should return to my brother's side first. Willow said, "Luis is coming back. I have to wash off the stench that disgusting man left on me. Spending even one more day with him makes me feel sick." Freya replied, "Don't rush. If we both leave at the same time, what if he tries to take revenge on Luis? You stay by his side for now. After a while, I'll come back and take you over to him." But the very next second, my brother sent me a message. It read, "Hey little bro. Haven't you gotten bored of those 2 succubi yet? Your big brother just brought you back a top-tier succubus. If you want her, reply with the number 1. Chapter 1. Listening to the argument next door was giving me a headache. Yet my hand moved on its own and had already typed the reply. 1. The phone rang instantly. I snapped back to my senses and hurriedly picked it up. My brother's head of blonde hair appeared on the screen first. He was still abroad. After adjusting the camera, he asked, "Little bro, why are you still awake?" The smile on his face was especially bright, but my own expression was gloomy and troubled. Before tonight, I never knew that my succubi had only been treating me like a simp stand-in, and both of them were waiting for their own dream guy to return to the country. My brother frowned. "What's wrong? Did those 2 succubi I sent you start acting up again? Was it Fryuk or Willug?" The man on the other side of the screen had his brows tightly knitted, already rolling up his sleeves as if he wished he could crawl through the screen and deal with them right away. I couldn't help but laugh. Helplessly, I said, "Bro, their names are Freya and Willow." My brother showed not the slightest embarrassment about getting their names wrong. His brows were so tightly furrowed they could practically crush a fly. He waved his hand. "They're just 2 succubi. Who cares what they're called? Which one is causing trouble? I'll fly back right now and deal with them." I shook my head, not wanting him to worry. I quickly changed the subject. "No, everything's fine. By the way, that top-tier succubus you mentioned, where is she?" A mischievous grin spread across my brother's face. Without another word, he picked up his phone and walked toward the next room. He said, "Looks like my little brother has finally changed. I remember you used to be pretty shy. Back then I even worried that leaving you with 2 succubi would be too much for you." I scratched my head, but the bitterness in my heart only grew stronger. The truth was, during the first half-year after my brother left, nothing had happened between me and the 2 succubi, until 3 months ago, at a gathering with friends. I drank too much. Succubus Freya was the one who took care of my drunken self. Looking at that face, so breathtaking it didn't even seem human, my heart stirred. Maybe it was the alcohol clouding my mind, but we kept leaning closer and closer to each other. That night, Freya showed endless creativity. Once a succubus had tasted that kind of intimacy, she couldn't stay away from people anymore. From that day on, Freya came to my room every night to sleep. At first, her younger sister Willow only watched us with teasing amusement. But as the atmosphere between Freya and me grew more and more intimate, Willow's gaze became increasingly resentful, until half a month later, when she finally couldn't endure it anymore and climbed onto my bed as well, claiming she couldn't be left out. Once Willow crossed that line, she became even clingier than her sister. Every day she would say she loved me and missed me, wishing she could stay with me 24 hours a day. The 2 of them often threw little jealous fits, competing for my attention and asking which one I liked more. I thought the 3 of us would keep living such a shameless and carefree life, until the day before yesterday, when my brother called and said he would be coming back next week. At that moment, the sound of a cup shattering came from nearby. When I looked up, I saw Freya frowning as she picked up a broom and swept the milk cup that Willow had broken into the trash. Neither of them looked very natural. From that night on, they stopped coming into my room. I had been busy preparing for my brother's return and didn't notice their change at all, until just now, when I half asleep overheard the argument between the 2 of them next door. Freya's voice was cold and distant as she said, "You're not even pretending anymore. George slept alone again today." Her younger sister Willow replied matter-of-factly, "Aren't you the same? Luis is coming back. I definitely need to wash off the stench that disgusting man left on me. Spending even one more day with him makes me feel sick." Chapter 2. Freya seemed a little worried. She said, "Don't rush. If we both leave, what if he goes crazy and takes revenge on Luis? Stay by his side for now. After a while, I'll come and take you over to him." Willow immediately objected. She said, "Big sister, you're so hypocritical. If someone's staying, it should be you. I'm going back first anyway. If you leave, that pathetic loser George definitely won't let me go." The 2 of them argued more and more fiercely. In the end, I could even hear shrill screams as they started pulling each other's hair. I sat on the bed, my mind still numb, yet my heart had already begun to ache. Pathetic loser, were they talking about me? But weren't they the ones clinging to me just 2 days ago? I had treated them with such deep affection, yet they trampled all over my sincerity. I sat on the edge of the bed in a daze for a long time, until my brother called. He said, "Little bro, try not to drool in a minute. Trust me, you're definitely going to like this." Luis's voice came through the phone as he cheerfully knocked on a door. Sigh. People who betray sincerity deserve to swallow 10,000 needles. So I asked, "Is she pretty?" My brother raised his hand and gestured for me to be quiet. The next second, the door opened. He tilted his head slightly and flipped the camera. The screen froze for a second, then my breathing completely stopped. The woman on the other side of the phone had clear blue eyes, long golden slightly wavy hair, and exquisitely perfect features that seemed to burst straight through the screen. Even though I had already prepared myself mentally, I was still completely dazzled by the beauty of the succubus on the other side. Luis said, "I spent a fortune arranging this for you. With a brother like me, you should count yourself lucky." My brother laughed like a villain and immediately stuffed the phone into the woman's hands. He said, "Anna, this is my little brother, George." Then he added, "You'll be with him from now on." I awkwardly scratched my cheek and stammered, "Hello." The woman held the phone and looked at me for 2 seconds. Her voice was soft and sweet. She said, "Master." I almost bit my tongue and hurriedly corrected her. "No, don't call me that. Just call me Gorgeous George." My brother burst out laughing on the other side. Anna looked up at him, and I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination, but my brother instantly became much more restrained. He glanced at me guiltily and quietly shuffled toward the door. He said, "You two get to know each other first, little bro. I'll come back for my phone later." The woman on the screen and I stared at each other. The atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward. Fortunately, Anna was very considerate. She could tell I wasn't good at chatting, so she gently guided the conversation by asking me some simple questions. Not only was she beautiful, her voice sounded wonderful too. When it flowed into my ears, it felt soft and tingly. My mind turned fuzzy, and whatever she asked, I answered, until a soft chuckle sounded. I came back to my senses and saw the woman on the screen smiling with amusement in her eyes. She said, "I asked what you like to do in your free time. What does answering mean?" That was way too embarrassing. I had been staring at her face the whole time and hadn't even noticed what she was asking. Just then, someone knocked on my door. At the same time, my brother's voice came from the other side of the phone. He said, "When I get back, you two will have plenty of time to talk. Give me my phone. I want to play some games." Anna looked a little reluctant, but she waved at me. "Good night, Gorgeous George." The knocking on my door grew louder and louder, so I had no choice but to hang up and walk to the door. The moment I opened it, Freya's raised wrist froze in midair. Meanwhile, Willow was leaning against the doorframe. Losing her balance, she fell toward me. I frowned and stepped aside. She fell straight to the floor and looked up at me with a pitiful expression. Freya lowered her arm. Her expression remained cold and aloof, but her voice was gentle. She said, "You're still awake?" When I saw the red marks on her face, my mood turned colder. The argument between the two of them replayed again in my mind. Chapter 3. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Willow grew anxious. She climbed up from the floor and reached out to grab my arm. She said, "Who were you talking to just now? Why did I hear a woman's voice in the middle of the night?" As she spoke, she reached for my phone. Willow was possessive and clingy. Compared to her sister, her personality was wilder and far less restrained. If I chatted with the female neighbor next door for a few minutes, she would get upset and throw a tantrum. If I went out to dinner with friends at night, she would sulk. Sometimes she even checked my phone. I didn't stop her. The deep frown on Willow's face completely relaxed when she saw the name Luis on the screen. She didn't tap in to read the messages. Instead, she handed the phone back to me while muttering to herself, "Oh, it was Luis you were talking to. Why didn't you just say so earlier?" Hearing my brother's name, Freya also turned her gaze to my phone. She asked, "George, did your brother say when he'll be back?" Willow quickly added, "Is Luis coming back next week?" The two of them spoke almost at the same time, their voices full of anticipation. For a moment, the air fell silent. I let out a small laugh and looked at the two slightly anxious succubi. So they hadn't been pretending at all before. It was simply that I had been blind and foolishly confident. "He's coming back next week," I said. Willow was younger and had never been good at hiding her feelings. Her eyes immediately lit up. "So when he comes back, will he come here too?" Someone suddenly grabbed her arm. Freya, who was calmer, stopped her. Even so, she couldn't quite hide the smile at the corner of her lips. "In that case, why don't we go pick him up together when he arrives?" After hesitating for 2 seconds, she added, "George, You don't look well. It's so late and you're still awake. Are you feeling unwell? Freya reached out to touch my forehead. I frowned, blocked her hand, and casually shut the door. I'm fine. Outside the door, the two of them looked at each other. I heard Willow whisper softly, "Big sister, do you think he might not have slept earlier? If that's the case, maybe he heard something." Freya didn't reply. She simply pulled Willow away as they quickly left. I lay down on the bed and couldn't help recalling the first time I met them. It was at my brother's estate. He had been in a hurry to leave the country, and the two succubi had just arrived when he was already planning to send them back. Suddenly he slapped his forehead. "Oh right, I almost forgot I had ordered these too." Freya said nothing, but when Willow heard that, her eyes immediately turned red, looking pitiful. I had heard that succubi who were returned had to be sent back to the factory for reconditioning, which was extremely painful. So when my brother said he would give them to me instead, I agreed. At the time, he was shocked. Our personalities were completely different. He had only mentioned it casually, but after the shock, he still reminded me. "You can't spoil succubi too much. Don't get too emotionally invested. Just use these two for now. If I run into better ones later, I'll buy them for you." I closed my eyes, Willow's disgusted tone echoing in my mind. It seemed my brother had been right. The next morning, Freya had already finished preparing breakfast. Willow came running out of the room excitedly, a card in her hand. "Big sister, let's go." I turned my head. Willow clearly hadn't expected to run into me. The bright smile on her face froze instantly. Freya was the one who broke the awkward silence. "Willow and I are going to buy some new clothes. Do you want to come shopping with us?" I withdrew my gaze and walked toward the dining table. "You two go ahead." Freya frowned and leaned closer to look at me carefully. "Why do you sound so listless? Do you have a fever?" I walked past her, sat down, and picked up the glass of water beside me. Freya froze where she stood. Willow, however, quickly ran over and grabbed her arm. "Then take your time eating. We'll be back soon." Freya turned to look at me. Our eyes met. The confusion in her eyes grew deeper, but I had already made up my mind last night. When Luis returned, I would send them back exactly as they were. As for what to do with them afterward, that would depend on his decision. After all, the order for those two was still in his hands. Chapter 4. The moment the two of them left the house, I packed up all the personal items they had left in my room and threw them into the trash. The phone suddenly rang, and Anna's face appeared on the screen. How should I put it? Looking at a beautiful woman really does lift your mood. By the time Freya and Willow returned, I realized that Anna and I had already been chatting for more than 3 hours. Willow happily called out, "George, come eat snacks with us." Like a cheerful little deer, Willow ran into the house carrying a big bag of snacks. Anna said, "By the way, I sent you something. Don't forget to pick it up. Let's talk again next time. I'll hang up for now." Anna's voice came from my phone at the same time. Willow's smile instantly disappeared. She rushed forward and tried to snatch my phone. "George, which little vixen were you talking to on the phone?" Expressionless, I put my phone away and took the bag from her hands. Freya walked in behind her carrying several shopping bags. Willow widened her eyes and immediately complained. "Big sister, George was talking to another woman while we were out, and he wouldn't even let me check his phone." Freya was calmer. She frowned slightly and tossed one of the shopping bags into Willow's arms. Blinking, she said, "It's a good thing if George has friends." Willow froze for a moment. She stared at the bag in her hands, then looked at me again, as if she had finally understood something. Her expression immediately improved. A trace of mockery flashed through my eyes. I turned around, not even bothering to look at the two of them again. Freya was hinting to her sister that if someone else distracted me, the two of them could leave without trouble. They were overthinking it. I had never intended to stop them from leaving anyway. When I woke up in the afternoon, dinner had already been prepared. The living room was empty. As I passed by the guest room, the door suddenly swung open. The three of us stared at each other. Willow's eyes widened. In a panic, she hurriedly tried to hide the dress behind her. Even Freya, who was usually calm, showed a flash of panic on her face. They tried their best to block my view, but I still saw it. The entire bed was covered with all kinds of revealing nightwear. I calmly looked away. The door had been blown open by the wind. It wasn't like I had tried to peek on purpose. "George, this is a surprise for you." Seeing that it couldn't be hidden anymore, Freya reacted first. She casually picked up one piece and walked toward me. She said, "Didn't you say last time that succubi in those short videos look good wearing outfits like this? That's why we went out this morning to buy them." Oh, so that's what they had gone out to buy earlier. If it had been before, I might have believed it. Now, I only found it amusing, because I knew better than anyone that these seductive tricks were meant for someone else. I ignored her words and walked toward the dining room. Willow grabbed Freya's arm and whispered, "Big sister, don't you think something's wrong with him?" The two of them murmured quietly to each other while I ate heartily in the dining room. After finishing my meal, I put down my chopsticks and headed back to my room, but I heard footsteps behind me. Just as I was about to close the door, someone called out to me. Frowning, I turned around. Willow's ears were red. She was wearing the revealing maid outfit I had just seen earlier, her soft pale skin faintly visible beneath the fabric. She said, "I'll sleep with you tonight." She lifted her chin proudly, looking down at me as if she were granting me a favor. How ridiculous. Just a few days ago, she had been clinging to me, constantly asking if I loved her. Now her face was full of annoyance and impatience. I didn't even need to think about it. Her sister must have persuaded her to compromise and keep me stable for the time being. As she tried to walk into the room, I reached out and blocked the doorway. Looking at her impatiently, I said, "Get lost." Chapter 5. The door closed. After a few seconds of silence, Willow's incredulous voice came from outside. She shouted sharply, "George, have you gone crazy? How dare you talk to me like that?" Freya seemed to be pulling her back, but Willow became even more aggrieved. She complained, "See, what kind of person is he? What's so great about him? Like anyone even cares. Good, now I can just go back first anyway." Her mouth was suddenly covered by someone. After a long moment, the door was knocked again. I opened it impatiently. Freya stood at the doorway with reddened ears, a faint blush creeping across her usually cold and composed face. She asked, "Was tonight's meal not to your taste?" I frowned. In the past, I had indeed favored Freya more. After all, she was sensible, obedient, and she had been my first succubus. I said slowly, word by word, "You get lost too." The next morning, just as I stepped into the living room, Freya came over to greet me. "I made your favorite breakfast. Are you feeling better today?" Willow kept a cold face as she turned toward the kitchen to fetch bowls and chopsticks. She said, "You only just woke up. Were you chatting with that little vixen again last night? No wonder you didn't need my sister or me to sleep with you. Afraid we'd ruin your good time with her, right?" Willow's tone was dripping with sarcasm. I nodded along with what she said and replied casually, "Yeah, it would have been pretty disturbing." Freya paused mid-movement. Willow exploded instantly. "George, what do you mean by that? So you really did keep another woman on the side, didn't you? Let me tell you, don't think what happened yesterday is over. If you don't properly apologize and make it up to me this time, I will never forgive you." I turned my head and looked at them. It was time to make things clear. My brother is coming back. Both of them froze at the same time. An unnatural expression flashed across their faces. The corner of my mouth lifted slightly. "I heard your argument that night too. There's no need to argue anymore about who should stay." Their expressions instantly turned extremely unpleasant. Pretending not to notice, I continued calmly, "You don't need to stay at all. When my brother gets back, I'll have him take both of you away." Willow finally reacted. Her temper vanished instantly. "That's not it. I was just joking around with my sister. Why did you take it seriously, George? Don't say things like that out of anger, okay?" I pinched the bridge of my nose. At this point, how could she still think I was just speaking out of anger? I began to doubt myself. Maybe my brother had been right. Perhaps I was simply too easygoing most of the time. Freya was about to say something else when the sound of a car suddenly came from outside. None of the three of us spoke. Then Louise's bright, cheerful voice rang out from outside. "George, come out and welcome your king." The two of them exchanged a glance. I was still a little stunned myself when the door was kicked open. My brother dragged his suitcase inside and walked straight toward me. He grinned. "Miss your big brother." Chapter 6. He walked straight over and bumped my shoulder with his, completely ignoring the two succubi standing beside me. Laughing, he said, "Let me take a look. Not bad. Not bad, you've gotten a bit stronger." After the brief greeting, he turned around again, only then noticing the two standing nearby. Their expressions were complicated. Freya asked, "Brother Luis, why did you come back earlier than expected?" Willow glanced at me, then at my brother, pressing her lips together without saying anything. My brother was still grinning. "Of course it's to give my little brother a surprise. Looks like the three of you have been living quite comfortably together." He lifted his eyes and glanced around the house. Willow stared at me nervously, but I didn't say anything. After a moment, she seemed to decide that what I had said earlier must not have been serious after all. She visibly relaxed, her expression becoming much lighter. Willow said, "Luis just got back and probably hasn't eaten yet. George hasn't eaten either. Let's have dinner first. I'll go cut some fruit." She turned and headed toward the kitchen, her steps almost cheerful. Freya was clearly still uneasy. She quietly stood nearby, observing me. Only when she saw my brother and me talking about work did she gradually relax and go help with the food. Luis said, "I came back early. Anna will arrive in a couple of days." He pulled a box out of his suitcase. "Anna asked me to bring this to you." I took the box and carefully opened it. Inside was a complete set of top-tier fishing gear. The fishing rod alone cost more than 20,000. "This," my brother laughed. Didn't you tell her you like fishing in your spare time? I was dumbfounded. But, isn't she a succubus? My brother shrugged. Succubi come in different tiers too. The two beside you are just middle tier, they still need to rely on someone to live. But someone like Anna, a top-tier succubus like that is incredibly rare. He rubbed his nose and glanced toward the kitchen, where Willow and Freya were busy. Though a succubus of that caliber probably doesn't like sharing, but she seems to like you quite a bit. Maybe the three of them could get along after all. I followed his gaze. I hadn't brought it up earlier because the timing hadn't felt right, but since he had mentioned it now, I simply nodded. Then take these two away with you. Luis looked surprised. You don't want these two anymore? I nodded. Yeah, I don't. A loud crash suddenly sounded behind us. I turned around. Willow was standing there, her eyes red. At her feet lay shattered plates and strawberries scattered across the floor. She shouted sharply. What do you mean by that, George? She looked at me in disbelief. What do you mean you don't want us anymore? My brother frowned. What's going on here? Freya stood not far away, her face pale as paper. Willow stepped forward, completely ignoring my brother's question. She grabbed my arm, her eyes already glistening with tears. George, say something. What do you mean you don't want us anymore? Chapter 7. I found her sudden breakdown somewhat baffling. Wasn't she the one who had been making such a fuss about leaving? Now that I was granting her wish, she looked pitiful instead, as if the moment I said I didn't want her anymore, she would burst into tears. Freya walked over without saying a word and forcibly dragged the emotionally collapsing Willow back into the room. Willow didn't come out again until dinner. My brother had to leave that night. Before leaving, he said he would come again tomorrow morning to take the two of them away. After seeing him off, I turned around and saw Freya standing in the entryway. I walked past her expressionlessly, but she grabbed the sleeve of my shirt. Freya's voice was slightly hoarse. George, can we talk? From beginning to end, she had seemed very calm. No matter how much Willow cried and made a scene in the room, she had remained silent. Her voice trembled slightly. That night, we did say some hurtful things. I'm sorry, George, but when you said just now that we should leave with Luis, I realized something. She lowered her eyes and pressed her lips together. I actually hoped you were only saying it out of anger. I thought I would be happy to go back to Luis, but when I imagined leaving you, it felt like needles stabbing my heart. She reached out and tugged at my sleeve. Willow must regret it too, otherwise she wouldn't have cried. We were both wrong. George, can you give me another chance? Impatiently, I shook her hand off. Her eyes darkened for a moment, her face turning even paler. George. The door suddenly opened. Willow walked out with red eyes. She bit her lip and said, Big sister, don't beg him. He doesn't want us anymore. What's the point of begging him? It's perfect. We can just go back to Luis together. As she spoke, she glared at me fiercely, as if expecting me to see through her stubborn act like before and take the initiative to comfort her. But she was destined to be disappointed. I nodded and said, Pack your things yourselves. My brother will come tomorrow morning to take you away. Willow's eyes turned even redder. She shouted at me. Fine. I'll leave tomorrow. George, don't regret this. Don't come begging on your knees for me to come back later. I ignored her words and Freya's pleading gaze and turned to leave. Another fierce argument erupted next door, but this time, they were no longer arguing about who would leave me first. Freya was scolding Willow for her sharp tongue, and Willow was calling her sister hypocritical. I put on my headphones and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, I yawned and opened the door. Freya was already standing outside. Dark circles lined her eyes, but she smiled gently. George, breakfast is ready. Go wash up first. She rarely smiled so beautifully. Normally, she was always cold and distant. Seeing that I didn't respond, she pulled Willow out from behind her. Willow's dark circles were no lighter than Freya's. There was a red handprint on her cheek, making her look quite pitiful. Reluctantly, she walked up to me. George, fine. I'm sorry. Okay, I won't throw tantrums at you anymore, and you're not allowed to say things like that out of anger again. Got it? How ridiculous. Even now, she still thought I had been arguing with her. Willow looked at me pitifully and, without another word, tried to lean against me. It was her usual way of acting cute, but the next second, little bro, come see who's here. My brother's voice came from the yard. Willow grabbed my arm. I apologized. George, you're not allowed to say you'll send me away anymore. I brushed her hand aside and went to open the door for Luis. The moment the door fully opened, my eyes widened. An unbelievably beautiful face appeared before me without warning. My brother waved his hand up and down in front of my eyes. Speechless. Little bro, did you freeze up staring? Anna let out a soft laugh and waved at me. Good morning, George, I stammered, my brain completely shutting down. Damn it, my brother hadn't told me anything. I was standing there messy and disheveled, with my hair sticking up like a bird's nest. Compared to Anna, we didn't even look like we belonged in the same scene. George, who is she? Freya's voice came from behind me. I turned around. Willow's fists were clenched tightly, and Freya's lips had gone pale even though she was forcing a smile. Willow said angrily, "Do you even need to ask? That's the little vixen." Chapter 8. My brother frowned and immediately gestured to the bodyguards behind him. "Looks like they really need to be sent back for some proper discipline. They've gotten way too full of themselves around here." Anna ignored the two of them entirely and walked in naturally. She said, "Did you try the new fishing rod yet?" But I barely heard anything else she said. Her voice was soft and sweet, and she looked even more beautiful in person than on video. I had always thought Freya and Willow were already unbelievably attractive, but now I realized there was always someone even more stunning out there. A top-tier succubus really was something else. While I stood there in a daze, Willow was being dragged toward the door by several people. She struggled desperately and shouted, "George, do you really not want me anymore? Let go of me. I'm not leaving." I turned to look at them. Freya stood there, pale as death, staring at me. Tears streamed down Willow's face as she clung tightly to the doorframe with both hands. She choked out, "You liar. George, you stingy jerk. George, didn't you say I was the one you liked the most?" By the end of her sentence, she had already broken down crying. "I already apologized. Why don't you want me anymore?" Someone tugged lightly at my arm. I turned around. Anna looked up at me, her clear eyes seeming to see straight through my thoughts. She asked, "You used to like someone that noisy?" Whenever I looked at her face, my brain seemed to stop working completely. Without thinking, I replied, "I like you the most now." My brother clicked his tongue. "Little bro, pull yourself together. You're practically drooling." I instinctively lifted my hand to wipe my mouth. Luis burst out laughing. Anna looked a little helpless, seeing that no matter how much she struggled, no one was paying attention to her. Willow became even angrier, but soon she was dragged outside as her strength gave out. Freya looked at me deeply one last time before lowering her head and following the bodyguards out. Luis took Willow and Freya away. It was exactly the outcome they had wanted. But through the car window, I saw tears sliding down Freya's cheeks. Someone gently tugged my arm. I turned around as Anna's voice sounded beside my ear. "If you can't bear to part with them, you can still call them back." I shook my head. "Once someone betrays you, they're done forever. I'm not a simp. Women who change their feelings so easily aren't worth my time." I asked curiously, "So how much did my brother actually pay to buy you?" She raised her head in surprise. "Buy me?" Anna looked genuinely shocked. "Is that what your brother told you?" I had wondered about it myself. After all, although my brother had money, Anna clearly didn't look like someone who needed it. She let out a small laugh. "You really believe everything he tells you? When you're old, someone could probably sell you fake health supplements and you'd still believe them." I was speechless. Anna snorted lightly. "I chose you myself. It has nothing to do with your brother." She looked up at me. Our eyes met, and the fondness in her gaze seemed ready to overflow. "Don't you remember me?" I was confused. "Have we met before?" Anna smiled but didn't say anything else. My brother had been right. The gap between a top-tier succubus and an ordinary succubus wasn't small at all. Just in terms of attentiveness alone, one could outshine three. I was eating so well that Anna rested her chin on her hand and watched me. "So, how does my cooking compare to your previous succubi?" I never thought I'd taste food this good in my life. I let out a satisfied burp. There was truth in that old saying, if you want to capture a man's heart, first capture his stomach. I had already thought Anna's beauty was top tier, but after tasting her cooking, she seemed even more radiant, as if she were glowing. Chapter 9. After dinner, I was still hesitating about whether to let her sleep in the guest room or with me, but she walked into the bathroom first. By the time I was half dazed and carrying her to the bed, I still hadn't figured out how things had progressed so smoothly. My brother had been right, one top-tier succubus really was worth three. Anna gently pushed me away. She gave a soft hum and said, "The phone is ringing." I was speechless. Who had such terrible timing to call right now? The mood had been perfect, and now it was completely ruined. But the next second, Anna directly answered the phone and handed it to me. From the other end came a voice. "George, are you still angry? I want to come home." It was Willow's voice. I sobered up immediately. Her voice sounded hoarse from crying, pitiful and weak, completely lacking her usual spoiled arrogance. She said, "George, I don't want to stay here. I miss you. I want to come home." Anna leaned over and kissed me lightly. "Just ignore her." Willow instantly exploded on the other end of the phone. "George, you're sleeping together already. You slept together on the first day. George, you're not allowed to touch her." So I had overestimated her. How could Willow ever be gentle? She threatened, "George, if you touch her, I'll never talk to you again. No matter how much you try to make it up to me this time, I won't forgive you." The weak threat was cut off mercilessly as I hung up. Anna took the phone and blocked the number. I laughed. "Didn't you say you could accept me having other succubi? Why are you being so petty now? She rolled her eyes. I changed my mind. I hadn't expected Freya to come looking for me. When I saw her outside the gate the next morning, I was stunned. Freya was curled up by the doorway, looking extremely pitiful. Good morning, George. She stood up and tugged at her clothes. The tear marks on her face were obvious. Have you eaten breakfast? I can make some. She naturally tried to walk into the courtyard. I frowned and stopped her. What are you doing here? When she noticed the lipstick mark on my neck, her smile slowly stiffened. She said, George. I thought she might not know your tastes. I was worried you wouldn't be used to it. I felt a wave of irritation. Rubbing my temples, I said, Freya, who was it that said they were afraid they couldn't get rid of me? A pathetic loser. And now you're pretending to be innocent. Don't you feel shameless? Her breathing quickened, her chest rising and falling sharply, but after a moment, she forced a smile again, as if ignoring the humiliation. I know, Willow, and I made mistakes, but those words were said by Willow. I never thought you were disgusting, and I never looked down on you. I just didn't understand my own feelings back then. Before she could finish speaking, slap, her face was struck to the side. Willow stood there with bloodshot eyes, having just slapped her. Freya, you're stabbing me in the back. Didn't you say bad things about George too? If you're apologizing, then apologize. What do you mean pushing all the blame onto me? Are you trying to make him forgive only you? Freya slowly stood up, covering her face as she looked at her younger sister. Am I wrong? Weren't you the one who insulted him and complained about him every day? I never said a single bad word about George. I never once said I hated him. Why shouldn't I be forgiven? Willow completely lost her temper. Wasn't it you who kept telling me how great Luis was every day? That's why George got angry and stopped wanting me. A trace of ridicule flashed in Freya's eyes. If you weren't so stupid and ruined everything, how could another woman have taken your place? The other woman, who had successfully taken that place, walked out of the house. Anna even thoughtfully brought out a stool for me and handed me some sunflower seeds. Watching dogs bite each other is quite entertaining. She leaned over and kissed me. Willow turned her head and saw the intimate scene between me and Anna. She immediately lost control. In the past, Freya and I never dared act affectionate in front of her. With her fiery temper, she would practically tear the roof off. She shouted, You shameless bitch, stay away from George. She temporarily stopped arguing with Freya and charged straight at Anna. But before I even had the chance to step in, she was already lying on the ground. I stared in shock. Impressive. A top-tier succubus really was top-tier in every aspect. Willow and Freya had climbed over the wall from my brother's place to get here. After receiving Anna's call, my brother rushed over in a fury. Anna said to Luis irritably, You should raise that wall higher. Don't let just any random stray wander over here to cause trouble for George. My brother replied bluntly, If you ever start causing trouble like them, I'll kick you out too. Anna snorted lightly. I'm not that stupid. You don't need to worry about me. Chapter 10. From that day on, I never saw Freya or Willow again. Occasionally, though, Willow would still call me. At first she would angrily curse at me, crying and making a scene. Eventually, all that remained were pitiful questions and repeated apologies. I was wrong. George, I miss you. Can you take me home? Every time, Anna would block her number, but Willow always managed to call again using a new phone number. This made Anna extremely irritated. Days passed one after another. My brother's birthday was approaching, and he prepared a birthday party at his house. Anna and I went together. As soon as we arrived, my brother excitedly grabbed me and tried to pull me away. I prepared a surprise for you. From now on we can. Anna instantly became alert. She grabbed my arm and refused to let me go, glaring angrily at my brother. No, George only needs me. My brother laughed in disbelief. You're even jealous of a computer now. Weren't you the one begging me to introduce you two back then? Anna stayed silent. I laughed and said, So you were the one who found my brother first? She turned her head, her eyes soft and affectionate. I'll tell you when we get home. I chuckled. Every time I asked before, she brushed it off, but tonight it seemed she was finally going to reveal the secret. My brother had always been popular. He was loyal, generous, and outgoing, completely different from introverted me. I couldn't get used to the food at his banquet, so Anna went to the kitchen and cooked something separately just for me. My brother shook his head helplessly. I swear, I hope I can meet a top-tier succubus like that in this lifetime. I felt a little embarrassed and went to the restroom. When I came out, my eyes met those of a woman not far away. My heart skipped a beat. Willow stood there quietly. Her gaze clung tightly to me. George. More than half a year had passed since the last time we met. Willow had lost a lot of weight. The pride and confidence that once filled her expression had been completely worn away. The corners of her eyes were red. She was smiling, but tears kept falling down her face. Long time no see. Have you been well? I nodded. My eyes fell to her hands. Her once delicate fingers were now rough and worn. She was wearing an old janitor's uniform. I didn't expect to see you again. I missed you. She didn't come closer. She just stood there, the longing in her eyes almost overflowing. She was no longer the spoiled and temperamental girl she once was. Perhaps she had finally realized she no longer had the right to act that way. No one would indulge her like before. So she put away her sharp edges and asked me softly and cautiously, "Did you miss me, George?" I didn't answer. The light in Willow's eyes slowly faded. She cautiously took a step forward. I frowned and stepped back twice. More tears streamed down Willow's face. "George, I knew I was wrong a long time ago, but I didn't expect you to be this ruthless. You used to spoil me the most. Whenever I threw a tantrum, you would comfort me, but now you don't even answer my calls anymore." She broke down crying. "I miss you, George. When someone makes a mistake, don't they deserve a chance to make up for it? Why are you so heartless? You won't give me even one chance, please. I want to go home. I won't make you angry anymore. I miss you so much." I looked at her quietly without speaking. Willow sniffed. "This time I'll behave. I promise." "Didn't you like me the most?" I shook my head and dried the water from my hands. "Willow, you once said you liked me the most too, but we both know those were just sweet words said in bed, weren't they?" Willow panicked. "I meant it." I chuckled softly. The way she was desperately trying to prove her sincerity now looked just as ridiculous as when she once desperately fought with her sister over who would leave me first. I turned and walked back toward the party. Willow stumbled forward, trying to grab me. "Don't go. George, please don't go." But before she could take 2 more steps, the bodyguards pulled her back. One of them said, "Mr. Wong gave orders. If a fickle, low-quality succubus like you causes trouble again, you'll be sent back to the factory and have your memory wiped." Willow's voice grew fainter behind me. "No. I don't want to forget George." Anna came out of the kitchen carrying a tray. The moment she saw me, her eyes curved with a smile. "Just one more dish left." My brother sighed helplessly. "Hey, it's my birthday. If you two want to show off your romance, can you at least go home first?" Chapter 11. On the way back, I lowered my head and asked thoughtfully, "So, when did you choose me?" She held onto my arm as we walked. The streetlights stretched our shadows long across the ground. She said, "When I had just come out of the factory and was still an ordinary succubus, I wasn't willing to accept being assigned to someone, so I secretly ran away." I listened quietly as she continued, "During your senior year of high school, didn't you once save a girl?" I froze for a moment. I seemed to remember seeing a girl collapsed in the snow at an intersection. I called an ambulance, and she was taken away. Anna chuckled softly. "Who calls an ambulance for a succubus? I can't even get sick." I had just starved myself so badly that I had no strength left. Embarrassed, I scratched the back of my head. Anna tilted her head slightly. At that moment I thought, "I'm going to stick with this silly guy." On the way back while trying to find you, I almost got caught. My breathing stalled, but she smiled gently. I realized that if I stayed just an ordinary succubus, my fate would either be getting caught and dragged back, or eventually being discarded. I shook my head. "That wouldn't happen. I would never discard you." She laughed softly, her voice clear and bright. "But I was afraid. If I wasn't good enough, sooner or later another succubus would appear to seduce you." I was about to say something, but she spoke first. "Even if you didn't want one, that troublesome brother of yours would still keep stuffing new ones into your house." I choked on my words. She wasn't wrong. My brother was exactly that kind of person. Anna's voice grew softer, tinged with regret. "I never told you any of this because I didn't want you to remember the most miserable version of me. I wanted the image you had of me to be the most perfect one." My heart tightened. I pulled her into my arms. "No matter what version of you it is, I like them all." Louise had once said that succubi were almost always fixed in rank. Whatever level they were when they left the factory would be their level for life. There might be many top-tier succubi in the world, but there would never be another like Anna. Someone who fought with everything she had just to stand beside me.